Hello and welcome to Crystal Vault Summer Camp. I am your camp counselor, Kat, and today we are going to be making a crystal storage bag with a zipper. To get started, all you need are two different types of fabric, one for the liner, one for the outside, a needle and thread, something to measure with, a zipper, scissors, and some crystals. The first thing you'll need to do is measure out and cut your fabric. So the width of your fabric will be the width of your zipper. So my zipper is 9 inches, but it measures about 10.5. So I'm going to measure my fabric at 10.5, and then I picked whatever length seemed good to me. I went with about 7.5 for a taller, deeper bag. Then you are going to cut 2 pieces from your fabric, matching your measurements. So again, I did 10.5 by 7.5. Now, I'm not looking for perfection here, which is a theme throughout this process. I am just trying to cut it as best as I can. As you see, I'll match them up and do a little trim to make sure that they are even, but they don't have to be straight lines. Just do it as straight as possible. Now, after I've measured them out and trimmed them individually, I will put all 4 pieces together and trim it to make sure that they are about even with each other. Now it's time to get out your needle and thread. Now, I already had needle and thread and I have a sewing machine, but I wanted to do everything by hand and get everything you would need to show that it's possible to make this beautiful bag with just your hands and a few items. Now it's time to get your lining fabric, place it face up, and then put your zipper at the top, and then put your main fabric or your outside fabric face down on top. And then you are going to pin, or as you see, I'm using these little clips, which I like much better than pinning, to hold everything together. Once you have everything clipped, you can start getting your needle and thread. I'm using black thread here. I could use white. I figured there was more black in my design and I have a black zipper, so I went with black thread. Then you just thread your needle. I use about 2 arm lengths of thread here, but do whatever you're comfortable with. If your needle kit comes with a threader, I highly recommend using it. It will make your life a lot easier. You just push the thin metal end through the eye of the needle, and then you can put your thread through the much larger hole created, and then you'll just use the larger metal end and grip it and pull it through the eye, and then your needle is now threaded. Much easier. Now it's time to start sewing. We are going to sew the lining, the zipper, and the outside layer all together, just straight along the top. To do this, we're going to use a very basic stitch, probably the one, if you ever have hand sewed anything, you probably know this stitch. It's called the running stitch, and it is just your basic in through the top, out through the bottom, kind of back and forth type of stitch. It's very easy and simple to do, and very hard to do wrong. Now we are going to start sewing the other side. We're going to put our lining fabric up again and then put what we just sewed and line the zipper up along top, and then place our top fabric again face down on top of this new little sandwich we're making. Then you're going to take your clips or pins and just pin straight along the top again. Essentially, we're sewing the zipper to these two pieces of fabric. Something else that I think is important to note here is that we are not seeking perfection again. I am not going in a very good straight line. I go up and down quite a bit and have to correct myself. If you're really worried about it, you can get a fabric pin and draw a straight line with a ruler and then stitch across that, and the line will disappear either over time or with heat. So that is always an option, but I don't think, especially for your own crystal bag, I don't think perfection should be something that you're seeking. You should be having fun while making this. Once you are done sewing your piece, I highly recommend you open it up and iron along the zipper. It will make a huge difference when you go to stitch along this top stitch here. Once it's ironed, I just put some clips in on the one side I'm not sewing to kind of hold it into place, even though it's probably not necessary. With this stitch, I'm not looking to make little tiny ones like I did for the other one, because this isn't a structural stitch. This is mostly a decorative stitch, I guess you could say, but it holds it together, it makes it look nice, it makes it zip and lay nice, so we do it. But you don't have to make tiny little stitches like you did before. It's okay to make larger stitches going across, as you can see here. Now this next part is super important. Once you have everything sewn together and you have both sides sewn, you need to leave your zipper at least halfway or partially open here before you take each of your sides and put them together. So we're putting lining and lining together and top together. You'll also want to take this zipper and have it fold towards the lining, which it'll kind of do naturally anyway. But on the end that's not already open on the zipper, you'll kind of have to force it inward. But I just take some clips once I have it facing inward and sort of pinch it down toward the lining. And that's where I start my clips, and from there I'll just go around in a square. While I am clipping everything together, I will also take this time to trim any fabric that is really too much. As you can see with the lining fabric there, I will trim anything and make sure it's pretty even so it'll stitch together nicely. This is another part that is very important. You need to leave an area open that's about the size of your hand or your wrist. So put your clips there or add different pins, but whatever you do, you want to make sure that you don't stitch that small opening there, just like leaving your zipper open. Your hand needs to go through there and through the zipper in order to pull everything right side out. So very important, leave that area unstitched and make sure, like I told you before, your zipper is open on the inside at least halfway. Then you are just going to literally start from where the one opening is going to be and stitch around the entire bag until you reach where the other opening end is going to be. Once you have stitched around the entire bag except for your little opening there, you want to trim off each corner. And then you'll want to carefully trim off some of the bulk of the zipper. Just be careful not to cut any of your stitching, but getting some of that bulk off will just help it lay nicer. Now you are ready to turn your bag inside out. So just reach in through that little hole in the zipper and then pull your outside bag, the outside fabric rather, out, and then your lining out. So they'll kind of be two separate pieces, but you're going to take your time now to go through and poke out the corner of both the outer side of the bag and the lining. It's very important. Now the very last thing we need to do is stitch this lining part together that we left open. You'll notice that the inside naturally folds inward, so it's easy to fold it inward. I use a little clip to clip it together, and then I just do a whip stitch across the entire thing. Of course you could do something like a blanket stitch so it's invisible, but again, we're not going for perfection and nobody's gonna see it, so an easy little whip stitch across that opening just to close it up. And that is your final step. All you have to do now is turn it right side out, get all those corners into where they belong, and your bag is ready to go. You can go grab any loose crystals, your sage stick, candles. I mean, a lot of stuff's gonna fit in here because we made it a good size. So add whatever you like, and now you have a brand new crystal bag that you made. Congratulations! Don't forget to join us next week when Camp Counselor Nicole will be making another crystal craft with you in our Crystal Vaults Summer Camp Crystal Craft session. We would also love to see what you create, so make sure you follow us and tag us in any creations that you have made, and we'd love to share them. You can find us on Instagram at Crystal Vaults Inc. and on TikTok and Facebook at Crystal Vaults. Have a wonderful day and see you soon.